The more proper a woman appears, the more disciplined her desires usually are. That's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid, because it shatters a comforting illusion. Proper is not innocence. It's not morality. And it's definitely not purity. Proper is control. Carefully learned, constantly maintained control. What you're seeing isn't a lack of desire, it's containment. A system built to keep certain impulses silent, hidden, and manageable. Decency, in this sense, isn't virtue. It's architecture, a structure designed to hold pressure without cracking. From the outside, it looks calm, polite, predictable. But calm behavior doesn't mean a calm interior. It often means discipline is doing heavy work behind the scenes. She knows exactly how to sit, speak, respond, and withhold. Not because she feels nothing, but because she feels enough to require regulation. Desire that isn't strong doesn't need management. Only intensity does. That's why the most proper women are often the most controlled, not empty, not naive, but trained. Trained to delay, trained to filter, trained to keep certain parts of themselves out of view. Men mistake this for safety. Society mistakes it for virtue. In reality, it's pressure held in place by identity and reputation. Properness becomes a mask that protects her from judgment and herself from exposure. And the danger isn't that desire is absent, it's that it's compressed. Because anything held too tightly doesn't disappear. It builds force, it waits, and it looks for conditions where control can finally relax. That's the part no one warns you about. What looks controlled on the surface is often restrained underneath. Men trust proper too quickly because it flatters their sense of certainty. Proper feels safe. Proper feel low risk. Proper feel predictable. A woman who speaks carefully, dresses modestly, and maintains composure gets categorized instantly. She's not like the others. She won't surprise me. She doesn't want much. These assumptions make men relax, not because they understand her, but because they stop paying attention. They mistake presentation for internal state. That's the error. Men read behavior and ignore pressure. They see what's expressed and assume it represents what's felt. But behavior is often the final product of regulation, not the raw input of desire. Calm is not the absence of intensity. It's proof that intensity is being managed. A woman who truly feels little doesn't need discipline. She doesn't need structure. She doesn't need rules. Only desire with force behind it requires containment. This is the contrast most men miss. A calm exterior does not equal a calm interior. In many cases, it means the opposite. It means there is something underneath worth controlling. Something that, if left unregulated, would disrupt the image she's invested in protecting. Properness becomes a signal of effort, not emptiness. It tells you that restraint is active, not that desire is missing. Men trust proper because it reduces uncertainty. They think predictability comes from low desire, when in reality it often comes from high discipline. And discipline exists for a reason. You don't manage what doesn't matter. You don't suppress what doesn't pull. The mistake is assuming that silence means peace. Silence often means pressure is being held quietly, waiting for the right conditions to release. This misunderstanding leads men to misjudge situations completely. They're shocked when intensity appears, confused when fantasy surfaces, off balance when the mask relaxes. They tell themselves she changed, when in reality she just stopped managing as tightly. The desire was always there, it was simply handled. That's the line that cuts through the illusion and reframes everything that follows. Decency is not the absence of desire, it's the management of it. Proper doesn't appear by accident. It's built, reinforced, and rewarded over time. From early on, the conditioning is clear. Be respectable. Be controlled. Be chosen correctly. She learns that approval comes not from expression, but from regulation. That being admired requires being contained. Desire isn't framed as something to explore, it's framed as something to manage carefully, so it doesn't threaten reputation or future options. And because this conditioning is consistent, it becomes internal. She stops needing external enforcement. She polices herself. Desire, in that environment, isn't erased. It's trained. Impulses get filtered before they ever reach the surface. Fantasies are privatized, kept in spaces where no one else can see or judge them. Expression is delayed indefinitely, justified by timing, responsibility, or image. She learns which parts of herself are acceptable and which ones must stay hidden. Over time, this doesn't feel like suppression, it feels like maturity. Control becomes identity. Properness then evolves into strategy. It protects reputation. It functions as armor. It allows her to move through the world without being questioned, judged, or exposed. People trust her more. Men lower their guard. Society rewards her composure. And every reward reinforces the behavior. The mask hardens. The discipline sharpens. From the outside, it looks like virtue. From the inside, it feels like constant vigilance. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Training desire doesn't reduce its strength. It increases its density. What's filtered doesn't disappear, it waits. What's privatized doesn't weaken it, intensifies in imagination. What's delayed doesn't die, it accumulates pressure. Properness keeps things in order, but order requires energy. And the more energy spent holding something down, the more force it gains underneath. That's the line that matters if you want to understand what's really happening. She didn't lose her hunger. She learned where to hide it. Over time, Proper creates a split. Two versions of the same woman begin operating in parallel. There is the public woman, the one the world sees. Polite, measured, predictable. She knows how to speak without revealing too much, how to move without inviting interpretation, how to maintain discipline as a form of social currency. This version is efficient, respected, safe. And then there is the private self, largely unseen and rarely acknowledged. This is where intensity lives, where imagination runs without supervision, where desire isn't edited before it forms. These two selves are not opposites. They are connected by pressure. The contrast between them is sharp. Politeness on the surface, intensity underneath. Discipline during the day, imagination at night. The public woman survives through regulation. the private self survives through fantasy. One maintains order, the other holds everything that order couldn't absorb. And because the private self has no outlet, it doesn't weaken, it adapts. Desire learns to survive underground, where it can't be judged or interrupted. It becomes more vivid there, more concentrated, more demanding. This is where emotional tension builds. The longer the split exists, the more energy it takes to maintain it. Holding the public self together requires constant monitoring. Suppressing the private self requires restraint. And restraint, over time, accumulates pressure, not all at once, but steadily, quietly. The woman doesn't feel this as chaos. She feels it as control. Until control slips. When it does, men are often shocked by what surfaces. They say it doesn't match her image, that it came out of nowhere. But it didn't. It was always there, simply unseen. The image was clean because the mess was stored elsewhere. That's the dark truth that reframes everything people get wrong about proper women. The cleaner the surface, the messier the basement. When expression is restricted long enough, the mind compensates. What can't be lived openly must be immediate privately. This is not pathology, it's pressure management. Proper women fantasize more not because they want chaos, but because imagination is the only place desire is allowed to stretch without consequence. Fantasy becomes the overflow channel for everything discipline keeps contained. It's where intensity can exist without reputation, and where impulse can move without permission. During the day, control dominates. She monitors herself, edits reactions, keeps her behavior aligned with the image she's invested in protecting. But that level of regulation is expensive. By night, the system needs relief. Fantasy steps in as a pressure valve. Control by day, expansion by night. The imagination becomes a private territory where desire doesn't have to negotiate with identity. There are no rules there, no audience, no consequences. And because the desire has been restricted elsewhere, it arrives in fantasy sharper, more vivid, more immersive. This is where people make another lazy mistake. They confuse fantasy with promiscuity. They assume that imagining more means wanting to act more. That's backwards. Fantasy is not evidence of excess, it's evidence of containment. It's the mind's way of releasing pressure without breaking structure. When desire is allowed to express itself freely in life, it doesn't need to explode in imagination. When it's constrained, imagination becomes the only expansion space available. And here's the critical point most people miss. Restriction doesn't reduce desire. It refines it. It concentrates it. It strips away the dull edges and leaves only what's charged. Fantasy under restraint is rarely random. It's specific, focused, intense, because it carries everything that wasn't allowed daylight. That's why the contrast feels so extreme. The woman who appears controlled and modest externally may carry a rich, vivid inner world that surprises anyone who mistakes silence for simplicity. This isn't hypocrisy, it's equilibrium, the psyche balancing itself under constraint. Properness keeps life orderly. Fantasy keeps the self alive. And the tighter the restriction, the sharper the desire becomes. That's the line that explains the entire mechanism without moralizing it. Restriction doesn't kill desire, it sharpens it. The mask doesn't slip randomly. It relaxes under very specific conditions. Safety, anonymity, a non-judgmental presence. When the threat of being seen incorrectly disappears, control loosens. When reputation isn't at risk, discipline stands down. When she senses that nothing she reveals will be used against her, the pressure finally finds an exit. This isn't recklessness, it's relief. The system stops defending because it no longer feels attacked. That's when the shifts happen, and they feel sudden only to the people who didn't understand what was being held back. Intensity appears where politeness used to live. Boldness replaces restraint. Emotional exposure surfaces without warning. She speaks differently, moves differently, feels closer, faster. Men look at this version and say, "She doesn't seem like this type." What they really mean is, "This doesn't match the mask I trusted." But nothing new was created in that moment. Something old was finally allowed to breathe. The confusion men feel comes from mistaking permission for transformation. They assume they triggered something, awakened something, unlocked something dormant. That interpretation flatters them and completely misses the point. You didn't create the intensity. You didn't flip a switch. You didn't access a hidden version that wasn't already there. What changed wasn't her desire. What changed was the level of threat. The mask exists to protect desire, not to deny it. When judgment is present, the mask stays tight. When pressure is applied, it hardens. But when safety is consistent and expectations are low, control no longer needs to overperform. Desire doesn't surge at surfaces, and when it does, it feels dramatic because it's been underground for so long. This is the brutal truth that reframes the entire moment and strips it of ego. You didn't awaken it. You stopped threatening it. This is where men misinterpret what they're seeing and rewrite the story to protect their own certainty. They say, "She's different now," or "She changed," or the most common one, "She was pretending the whole time." These conclusions feel logical because they explain surprise without forcing reflection. If she changed, then nothing was missed. If she was pretending, then the shift is deception. But those explanations are wrong, and they blind men to the real mechanism at work. The reality is simpler and more uncomfortable. She didn't change. The mask relaxed. She wasn't pretending. She was regulating. What you're witnessing isn't transformation, it's release. Pressure finally found space. The discipline that held everything together stepped back because it no longer felt necessary. And when discipline steps back, desire doesn't need to hide. Men often assume they are the cause of this shift, that their presence, confidence, or charisma unlocked something special. That belief is flattering and misleading. You're not the cause. You're the condition. You didn't generate the desire. You didn't create the intensity. You didn't flip a switch inside her. You simply stopped triggering the defenses that kept everything contained. That distinction matters, because when men think they're the cause, they start behaving like owners instead of witnesses. This is also why men who escalate too quickly break the spell. They mistake surfacing for invitation. They turn safety into pressure. The mask snaps back into place, tighter than before. Others make the opposite mistake and collapse emotionally, over-accommodating in fear of losing what just appeared. That also rebuilds the mask, because desire needs structure to stay present. In both cases, the misunderstanding destroys what was momentarily visible. The truth is less dramatic, but far more precise. Desire didn't emerge because you were exceptional. It emerged because the environment stopped being hostile to it. That's why trying to repeat the moment through effort fails. Effort reintroduces threat. Safety is quiet. Hold this line clearly if you want to understand what actually happened and avoid misreading everything that follows. You didn't unlock desire. You made it safe to surface. If you don't understand the mechanics of this moment, you will destroy it instinctively. Men fail here in two predictable ways. The first is escalation. The moment intensity surfaces, curiosity spikes and pressure follows. Questions get sharper. Energy leans forward. Expectations creep in. That escalation immediately reactivates control. Pressure rebuilds the mask because it signals judgment, demand, and consequence. Desire senses threat and retreats back underground. What looked open closes faster than it appeared. The second failure is collapse. Over softness, over accommodation. You pull back too far, afraid of disrupting what just surfaced. You remove structure in the name of safety, but desire doesn't stabilize in a vacuum. When there's no frame, no grounded presence, the energy dissipates. The moment loses shape. Desire doesn't feel held, it feels exposed and alone. And exposed desire retreats just as quickly as pressured desire. The correct positioning lives between those two mistakes. First, stay grounded, not curious. Curiosity can feel invasive in moments like this. It probes, it analyzes, it demands explanation. Grounding does the opposite. It communicates steadiness. It tells her nervous system that nothing is being extracted, inspected, or rushed. Grounding feels safe because it doesn't require her to perform or clarify what just surfaced. Second, hold frame. Not fascination. Fascination puts weight on the moment. It pressures identity. It turns expression into expectation. Frame stabilizes it. Frame says this space can exist without needing to become anything. No, is it anything else. When you hold frame, you allow the split between public and private to soften without collapsing into panic or fantasy. Third, mirror calm, not shock. Shock, even positive shock, signals danger. It tells her that what surfaced is unusual, risky, or unsustainable. Calm allows continuity. Calm says this version of her doesn't need to disappear tomorrow. Calm is what lets desire stay present without retreating back into containment. Hold this mental model tightly, because it's the difference between understanding and interference. I'm not here to expose her. I'm here to hold space. That posture doesn't chase desire or fear it. It gives it somewhere to exist without rebuilding the mask. At the end of this, everything needs to be reframed cleanly, without romance and without judgment. Properness was never moral. It was never purity. It was never proof of virtue. It was defensive architecture, a carefully constructed system designed to protect identity, reputation, and control in a world that rewards composure and punishes exposure. What you interpreted as goodness was often containment. What you interpreted as simplicity was often discipline under pressure. This is why the surface stayed so clean, not because there was nothing underneath, but because something valuable was being guarded. Desire wasn't missing. It was organized, regulated, stored where it wouldn't interfere with the life she was expected to live. Properness functioned like reinforced walls strong enough to keep things in place, rigid enough to prevent leakage, but never neutral. Walls are built where there is something worth protecting, or something feared if released. This framing dissolves the shock men feel when the mask relaxes. Nothing went wrong. Nothing was fake. Nothing suddenly appeared. The system simply loosened under the right conditions. Pressure met safety. Control stepped back. And what emerged felt intense because it had been held for so long. That intensity isn't corruption. It's compression finally releasing. This is the final truth that sits beneath all of the confusion, surprise, and misinterpretation. Decency is often the most sophisticated form of repression. Not crude denial, but elegant containment. Not ignorance of desire, but mastery over its visibility. And mastery always has a cost. So when you encounter quiet composure, don't mistake it for emptiness. Silence does not mean absence. Calm does not mean lack. Often, it means effort, discipline, structure doing its job. Because the quietest women aren't empty, they're contained. If you've followed this all the way through, you're no longer watching from the same place as before. You're not impressed by appearances. You're not startled by shifts. And you're not reacting emotionally to things you don't fully understand. You're aware. And awareness changes how you move. It keeps you from confusing restraint with virtue, silence with simplicity, or composure with emptiness. You stop projecting stories onto behavior and start reading structure instead. An aware man doesn't feel the need to provoke, test, or expose what's hidden. He doesn't mistake containment for invitation, and he doesn't feel threatened when control loosens. He understands that restraint exists for a reason, that it was built to protect something, not deny it. And because he understands that, he doesn't rush to interfere when the system shifts. He observes. He stays grounded. He lets things reveal themselves at their own pace. This perspective, remember, also keeps you from becoming reactive when intensity appears. You don't overvalue it. You don't panic. You don't inflate your role in what you're seeing. You recognize that what surfaces under safety isn't a performance for you, it's a moment of internal permission. That understanding prevents escalation and prevents collapse. You don't chase. You don't retreat. You remain steady. Awareness is not passivity. It's discipline without force. It's the ability to hold space without trying to control what fills it. Most men fail here because they think understanding gives them leverage. It doesn't. It gives them restraint. And restraint, when chosen rather than imposed, is power. So carry this frame with you and let it recalibrate how you see things going forward. Understanding restraint isn't about trying to break it. It's about knowing what happens when it finally relaxes.